Hello, I'm Alice Hargrave. I'm a photo-based artist from Chicago, and I'm thrilled to have this show at Aurora. And it's titled Sea Change, which is a kind of double entendre that we were playing around with, speaking of literally the sea and how it's changing, and then how we see change with our eyes. This piece that we're looking at here is called Sea Star, and it's based on the formation of an actual sea star that is a 5-tendrilled creature. So it's kind of an abstraction from that form, where there are 5 panels radiating out, each in a different subtle shade or color from photographs that I've made underwater in various places around the world, notably the Dry Tortugas, the Keys, and Bonaire. This whole work was inspired by an article that I read in the Washington Post about a scientist in England, actually, who was projecting the sounds of healthy reefs onto unhealthy reefs. He was working in the field of acoustic ecology to revive the habitats that were decimated. He sent me the source material for the sound waves, the patterns of the fish calls. These are localizations of the fish that I've layered into the underwater photography. Acoustic ecology alone cannot revive a reef, but it can when they've transplanted corals, or from coral farms they grow cuttings like you would a plant and transplant them into dead areas where they literally can look like boneyards. And then there's a way of attracting new fish to areas where fish had previously departed. But right before the corals die, they have this thing called fluorescence, where they become this incredibly surreal purple lavender color. And it's almost like the corals shouting out a last call for help. And that color was what inspired a lot of the lavender color in this piece. For me, the beauty of the work is collaboration. Throughout all of my work over time, I'm always trying to make visual bridges, if you will, between art and science. The tracing Audubon work was inspired by John James Audubon's portfolio of birds of the Florida Keys and Dry Tortugas from 1832. I had an artist residency in the Keys, so I went down there for 6 weeks and focused specifically on finding the species that he represented in his iconic portfolio, Birds of the Florida Keys and Dry Tortugas, which were 22 birds that I sought out to kind of find, look for, and the pictures speak to what it feels like looking for these birds in the wild. And you're looking through your binoculars and you're looking through your camera, and I felt so out of place there because I'm a Midwesterner, on the alert for the alligator that could be just right there at your feet too. So it was a whole different kind of being immersed in a completely different landscape than I'm used to. And the photographs, I think, in turn reflect that kind of feeling of being somewhere other. So they really are about actually the loss of the species as well, and the hunt for the species and the fragility of the habitat. And a lot of it is about, the shooting, but also over the passage of time, the reflection on the experience and trying to negotiate that or bring that into the imagery. I often quote a writer who I really admire, Anais Nin, who speaks about her writing process as twofold. One in the actual experience, when you taste life, and then one in the retrospect when you actually write about it. And that duality is present in my creative process, where there's the actual making of the photograph from the camera perspective, and then the making of the photograph when I go to print. And that in the process, in the meantime, there's the translation of time, memory, emotion, and environmental concerns that all layer into the work and become part of the formal aspects of the work.